Headphone users beware.
Here's a tunnel, just hold on. Now we're gonna go back to the house quick so I can get a new pair of undies. What is going on, you guys, and welcome back to the channel. So last week, as you guys saw, I finally installed Speed Engineering long tube headers and an X-pipe onto the C5 Corvette. And the Speed Engineering headers, as some of you guys may know, are some of the least expensive headers that you can get for the C5 Corvette, which might raise some questions as to their quality and how they perform. Now, I also failed in that last video to put a single clip of the car revving with the new headers or doing any sort of flybys. Idiot! All I did was start it up and then ended the video because the video was already 30 minutes long. I didn't want to make it too much longer, and I was also pretty beat from the install. Not that the install was that hard, I'm just an idiot, so everything is harder for me. So right now we're gonna hop in the Corvette and go for a little drive and try to answer the question, should you buy the least expensive headers for your C5? But first, enjoy this very, very cold start of the C5, now with its long tube headers and catless X-pipe and no mufflers. It's like 25 degrees out, so this is gonna be a good one. But first, gas. The car needs it, and I have it. Here I go. Bye. It's loud. It's very loud. Let me get through the gears because you won't be able to hear me. Just a minute. That's a little bit better. First factor, of course, is price. Not everyone wants to blow huge amounts of money on their car. Not everyone has huge amounts of money to blow on their car. The Speed Engineering headers, as I said, are some of the least expensive ones that you can get for the C5 Corvette. They run a little over 400 bucks. It's like $409, $410. And again, that includes the long tube headers and the X-pipe, the catless X-pipe. But as you saw in my install video, you do have to cut pieces of your old exhaust to use on this kit, which if an idiot like me can do, you guys will be golden. It's very easy, very basic cutting. Now, I'm not gonna go over every other brand and their cost of headers, but I'll do like the middle of the road headers, the next step up, and they're very popular. Texas Speed, of course. And those are $855, double what these cost. It's $562 without the X-pipe, which some of those prices may be a little different. I'm recording this right before Christmas. Some of the stuff was on sale, so just keep that in mind. And at the top of the list, the Big Daddy American Racing headers. Those are the ones I would have loved to get if I wasn't an impoverished YouTuber. Their kit requires no cutting at all. With the Texas Speed kit, I could be wrong, but I believe you still have to cut. There's no cutting involved with the American Racing kit. Everything's included for you. It's just gonna cost you $2,000. The car cost me $9. And if you want if you want catalytic converters on your X-pipe, that's gonna be another 200 bucks. So now you're up to, don't mind the vibrations. We'll get to that in a minute. If you want catalytic converters, that's gonna be an extra 200 bucks, putting the grand total at $2,200 for those headers. Keep in mind, these were $410. It's just steel we're talking about here. And I know now some people are gonna chime in that I said that, oh, it's just steel. I know steel has different thicknesses and stuff, and that is one thing I've heard about the Speed Engineering headers as opposed to all the other brands, is they use a little bit of a thinner gauge steel. And that really makes no difference from what I could find out. One thing I did read was that because the steel is thinner, on startup you might hear a little bit more valve noise, which is funny because I thought my C5 was a little noisy on startup. I thought the valves really like to be vocal on startup, and I hear them personally no more than I did before. If anything, I hear them less because the car is so freaking loud that I can't hear anything but which brings us into build quality. The build quality on the Speed Engineering headers I thought was fantastic. Taking these things out of the box, I thought they were beautiful. All the welds look very high quality. They didn't come all banged up. The stainless steel had a nice sheen to it. They looked beautiful.
It's shiny.
It is shiny. And I'm getting it all dirty with my disgusting hands. No dings, no damaging from shipping, none of that. So as far as I'm concerned, the build quality is very, very nice, top notch. We'll see how they hold up. Of course, as you guys know, if there's any problems with them, I'll be sure to let you know. You just have to make sure you're subscribed so you'll know when I make the video. Now the install of these really wasn't terrible. It's not a very difficult thing. It's only difficult if you're an idiot. They tell you 5 to 6 hours online. Maybe if you're using an actual lift and you're not laying on your back on your garage floor, which is cold, with the car just above your giant nose. If you're doing it that way, it's gonna take quite more than that. Now all that is good and dandy, great, but what you really want to know is how these things sound. Create a noise that make me make noises. It sounds ridiculous. It sounds ridiculous. I have long tube headers, a catless 3-inch X-pipe, and then I have straight pipes. I have no mufflers. I should mention that the 3-inch X-pipe drops down to 2.5, and that's what the rest of the exhaust is. So I'm kind of cheating when I talk about sound because I don't have mufflers. So I wouldn't really know how the Speed Engineering headers actually sound because just everything is bah! One thing you will notice though is the one thing that I have noticed, and again, this isn't a Speed Engineering long tube header and X-pipe specific thing, because I don't have mufflers or any sort of restriction in the exhaust at all. I have the X-pipe, I don't know if that actually is considered a restriction or not. I'm not smart. But the interior rattles and vibrates quite audibly. Listen. When you're at lower RPMs or you're building up through the gears, like around 1,000 RPM to 2,000 RPM, every piece of plastic in the interior rattles. There's really no way around it. Yeah, hear it again. I think that might have been the roof this time. C5s are known to have some interior rattles to begin with, so when you completely open up the exhaust like this, it's amplified by about 430,000. And I'm not complaining. This is the way I wanted it. I wanted to try it out like this. Will I put on mufflers? Maybe. I don't know what will come first, hearing aids or mufflers. We'll see. And that interior rattling could have to do with the intense drone that happens, again, in lower RPM when you're on the highway. It's not terrible. Then again, I'm not a very good judge of sound because I'm already going deaf to begin with. I'm 24 and have the hearing of an 87-year-old. And this is only going to further accelerate the hearing damage. And that is all right with me. That is A-okay. Clean up and aisle my underpants. Ooh. Give me a minute. And again, I don't want any of you to think that I'm complaining about the Corvette. Oh, it's too loud, it rattles and it drones. No. This is not a complaint. I wanted it this way with no mufflers to try it out, to see what it was like. Because I wasn't able to find a lot of videos of the C5 with no restriction, no mufflers, no catalytic converters. I wanted to experience it firsthand. And because there's no restrictions, meaning no mufflers or catalytic converters, usually when you remove the cats, it smells. I had a buddy who had a WRX, he cut the cats off, and it smelled like my ex-girlfriend's attempt at making eggs on a Sunday morning. It was not a pretty smell. And I have the giant ass nose to further amplify those smells. But in this, I'm surprised. It doesn't really smell in here. If anything, there is a metallic smell. And I attributed that to the coating. That there might be a coating that's on the headers when they send them to you. Maybe it's burning off. That's what it smelled like to me. And it's not a bad smell. I really don't mind it. It's not annoying. It doesn't give me headaches. I mean with the plastics. Now, a word of advice for those who didn't see my header installation video: don't use the clamps that Speed Engineering gives you. The Speed Engineering clamps are not good. It's a common complaint amongst the Corvette community when you're putting on these headers. Buy aftermarket ones. I have a link down in the description to ones that I use that were fantastic, or else just weld the exhaust. Bring it to an exhaust shop, have them weld. If you're a skilled person, unlike me, then you could weld it yourself. Holy it's so loud. Now, I know that when you put on headers and you delete the cats, you need to get the car tuned. My car was already tuned just last winter, actually. I tuned it, or Alex from Grand State Dyno tuned it. Hey look, a C8. Too bad he won't wave. Ooh, I like those. Anyways, yes, when you install headers, you're supposed to tune the car. Especially, I'm gonna have to get tuned now that I have a catless X pipe. And you also have to tune it because you got rid of the EGR, the air pump, I think they call it. That system's now removed. So I'm not really sure if the car is running at, peak performance right now. I would have to assume not, because the computer, can't make the adjustments that it needs because it's missing some stuff, aka cats. So we're gonna have to put it on the dyno and get it tuned to see the real performance gains that you get when you put on long tubes and a catless X pipe on the C5. But as for what I feel in the seat of my pants, I'll tell you as we get onto this high-speed road right here. kept going if numbnuts didn't pull in front of me. Now, as of the performance upgrade that I feel just from the seat of my pants, I do notice quite a bit more in the top end. I'd have to guess maybe 30 extra horsepower, 25, 30 extra horsepower in the top end. The car definitely didn't pull as hard when it got to the top of the RPMs as it does now. And it's braking traction a lot easier, as you saw there. Both first and second traction control kicked on, because I'm a wussy and drive with traction control on. But we gained in the top end of the RPMs, definitely lost in the lower. The car doesn't pull as hard down low, and that is a trade-off for having no mufflers, and the cats produce a little bit of back pressure, I believe, too. So when you get rid of those, now I have no back pressure. So that definitely explains why I feel a little less grunt down low. Once again, a big thank you to my friends over at 269 Motorsports for their support on this portion of the Corvette build. So guys, if you're in need of any LS performance parts, whether you have a Corvette, a Camaro, or you're putting an LS in something random, then be sure to check out 269 Motorsports first. Tell them Jake from DriveHub sent you. And you're probably going to want to see the very adventurous install of these headers on the Corvette. So you can watch that right in one of those areas. See you in the next one. Happy motoring. Wow, thank you, Uniden R3 radar detector, for keeping me from getting a ticket, which I probably would have gotten if I kept accelerating towards the state trooper who was further up the road.